so that becomes 8A, and then A becomes D.
That's fine, yes, sir.
Are you doing it for caregivers?
I'm doing it for the school board. And also in the spirit of safety, because we've got a lot of people in this room, and we need to thin some out just as soon as possible.
Now you superintendent here, he'll be part of that.
Yes, sir, he's here.
He's here.
Okay, I said that A becomes D, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. Okay, any other changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the agenda with the noted changes.
Second. Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Gatewood, seconded by Commissioner Mims, Commissioner Sturdivant, to approve the agenda with the changes. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the like sign. It is unanimous. The agenda is approved with the changes. At this time, in accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, General Statute 138A, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearance of conflict. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any undue participation in the particular matter involved. Does anyone have a conflict with anything on the agenda tonight? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Item 2 is the consent agenda. 2A are the minutes found on page 2. And hopefully everybody has reviewed the agenda and are familiar with these. 2B is property tax refunds and adjustments found on page 19. 2C is the bank authorization letter found on page 20, and this is a letter that it has been found that there are several people that's on the signature cards at various financial institutions that shouldn't be there because they no longer work for the county. So we'll approve this form letter, and finance can use it whenever this shows up, wherever it shows up, that these people's names should be removed.
Very good.
Okay, item 2D is the budget amendment for the airport. 2E is the budget amendment for psychological screenings, which the sheriff has talked to us about before. 2F is the budget amendment for the 911 consoles. And 2G is the budget amendment for the DSS domestic violence. Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Sturdivant, seconded by Commissioner Gatewood and Commissioner Sims to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. It is unanimous. The consent agenda is approved. No one has signed up for public addresses to the board. So at this time, we'll go with item 4, the appearances. And with the noted change, we will call on Superintendent McLean on the new middle school project. That information is found on page 43. Superintendent McLean.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Anson County Schools is in the process of planning the new middle school. A presentation was given by Pinnacle and myself on December the 7th to the county commission during the county commissioners meeting. During this meeting, the site plan was discussed for the new middle school. In order to make the site more efficient and cost effective, the Anson County School Board is requesting a transfer from the county of approximately 18 acres to the school system for this project. And we also attached the site plan designating the request acreage, and we hope that the board will act favorably upon our request. And I have Pinnacle here with me this afternoon to answer any questions that you may have, but you should have a copy of the letter in your packet. I forwarded a copy to Mr. Allen a few weeks ago.
Move this request be approved.
I second it.
Yeah.
Okay, we have the motion by Commissioner Sims, seconded by Commissioner Sturdivant to approve the request from the school board to transfer approximately 18 acres to the school system for the new middle school project. Any further discussion?
This property is located on Anson High Road.
Anson High Road, yes.
We still have some left, Mr. Smith, not all of it.
Commissioner Gatewood, you have a question?
Mr. Chairman, not a question, just a comment, and I fully support the new middle school. In fact, when they made the request for the funding for the middle school project, I was the only citizen that showed up in support of the middle school. That said, I think we need to do this right. We have not had a chance to discuss this with our county attorney, and once we have that opportunity to do that, hopefully later tonight, then we can get back to the school board with a response. And I hope it's a positive response.
And there's some other things involved in this as well, because the deed will have to be done as well, which the county attorney and county manager will be involved in, so we'll be doing it right. All the I's will be dotted and the T's crossed to get this done for the school board.
What my motion was to approve the process. And ultimately giving the land.
Well, I will vote positive to approve the process, Dr. Sims. Thank you for that clarification.
And I would say that whenever we come to our decision, if we look at a minimum of 18 acres, because it's hard to survey things to an exact amount. If there's a creek or a road or some kind of a natural barrier, if it winds up being 18.7 acres or 19.2, if we would look at the minimum of 18 acres, but in order, once they start the site planning, there could be a wet area that they might need to avoid or something, so we wouldn't want to limit ourselves just to 18 acres, but we could give them approval for the minimum of that, not saying that we might not go with a little more to make it a nice square or something like that.
Mr. Burkett, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, but I think that's an excellent idea. We may want to make it 18 to 25 acres.
And the site plan will tell us when we get into the soil types and the wetland and things that are gonna limit, you know, the location, so.
Okay, I think, those are good points, and
I'm sorry, Mr.
Superintendent McLean, you was going to say something?
I was, but you answered my question about you discussing it, so I'm still standing, listening, and learning.
Okay. And based on everything that's been said, I think, and you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's two things I think Dr. Sims may need to restate his motion. First of all, to the point that it's the process that's being approved tonight, and then just say minimum of 18 acres, and that way that we've got leeway to work. And I think the amount has kind of been finalized, but we don't know that for a fact unless the architects can tell us something different.
Mr. County, you got that, I'll make it a minimum, I know Ms. Thurman will second.
The amount of land, has it been definitely decided as 18 acres, or is this an estimate?
It definitely is no more than 18 acres.
It's no more than 18?
No more than 18 acres.
Okay. So I think the motion should still stand, but in that way, if there's any variation, we can go with it. Right, yep. And it makes sense because when we approved this once before, it was like 16 point some acres, so it's a little bit more this time than it was last time. So any other discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous.
Thank y'all very much.
Yes, sir, you're welcome.
All these your employees, Mr. Superintendent?
It's grown smaller, Mr. Smith, I had 12
Yeah. Okay, item 4B, Mrs. Lammons, our Veteran Services Officer.
Good evening.
Evening.
I have some great news to share with you all. As a collaborative effort between Economic Development, John Merrick, Chamber of Commerce, Shelby Emrich, and myself, Andrea Lammons, the Veteran Service Office, we will be advertising a Vetrepreneurship grant program, which will offer a $10,000 grant to any honorably discharged veteran who's interested in opening a business in Anson County. The idea was originally developed with a plan to present the opportunity to groups of veterans at the statewide Veterans Experience Centers. During a 3-day event, veterans are immediately assisted with acquiring their VA benefits through a team of veteran service officers, rating officers, and community organizations. During this, the community organization portion, and while veterans are waiting to be seen, they are offered educational seminars where entrepreneurship is a topic of great interest to several of our veterans. where multiple grants exist to help them pursue their passions and start businesses within the state. We will present the opportunity with Anson County as it is a small town area where a business could have a smaller startup overhead and great potential to develop the business towards growth. As plans to present this information evolved, the Economic Development AEDC Board decided to add to the benefit by offering a $10,000 grant. This will be a wonderful opportunity for growth in Anson County because, as you may know, the veteran population is made up of men and women who chose to serve their country out of love, passion, and a drive for a better country. They were so passionate about this that they were willing to give their own lives to make this difference. When they come home from their service, they still have this passion to make an impact, so much so that you will find they continue to strengthen their community in whatever capacity they can. They've also been trained to lead, manage, and handle any challenge that comes their way. So we hope that you will encourage this movement towards growth, because who better to add to our community than more veterans? So this $10,000 grant, I think will be wonderful for Anson County.
Okay, all right, thank you, Ms. Lemons. We appreciate all that you do for the veterans, and this program here, Ms. Lemons, Mr. Emmers, and Mr. Merrick has put it together. So we're looking for good things out of it. Thank you all.
Yes, say something real quick.
And you are doing an excellent job. Some of the people that come in there, they call and tell me how you treat them.
All right.
Thank you.
Mrs. Lemons, I've had a number of people from our community, particularly from the Brown Creek Baptist Church. They're very interested in you applying for the job that you have the credentials for the county.
Thank you.
If you haven't done so, you ought to do so.
Okay.
All right, we're now down to 4C, Mr. Michael Sandy, the Ansonville ETJ.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners, and staff. My name is Michael Sandy. I'm helping assisting Ansonville in their request for ETJ. The first step of this process under 160D-202 is to approach the county commissioners and to begin this process and to get your blessing for the town to proceed through this process. Notification, public hearing, public notice of the jurisdiction that they would like to add under ETJ, it's extraterritorial jurisdiction, and that is a request tonight. I'm trying to keep it simple, short and simple. Just giving permission from the commissioners to proceed under that process, and we'll come back to y'all for y'all to make a decision whether to bequest that to the town for them to have ETJ outside their town limits. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
And I guess the biggest question that you could let us know, this is not gonna cost the county any loss of revenue.
Tax revenue, no.
Okay.
The town does not get a tax this area, nor does it remove anything taxation-wise from the county. It is set up specifically for them to regulate land use, which is zoning and subdivision regulations. So there's no tax implications.
Mr. Sandy, I support this request, but I do have one question for my own clarification. Sure. And that is, has this been reviewed and approved by the town of Ansonville?
It has.
Okay.
It has. It's been, the town administrators presented that before them, my understanding, and they want to proceed through this process.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, if we're at the point where we could make a motion, I would make a motion to approve.
Now, second.
Well, actually, what I was
Well, to beat me to it.
what I was going to do is a little bit different because it says motion of consensus, but we'll vote the motion since it's done. We have a motion from Commissioner Brickens, seconded by Commissioner Gatewood, to approve the ETJ request from the town of Ansonville. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. It is unanimous.
Thank you very much.
ETJ for the town of Ansonville is you have our blessings.
All right, thank you.
Did you look over Sheriff Reed?
No, I'm getting to him.
He's coming.
He is next, actually.
You done lost some of that weight.
Looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can run them down.
No. No.
Look like Rodney picked up something.
I found what he lost.
Chair?
Okay, Chairman Woodburn, Vice Chair Mims, Board of Commissioners. First of all, I'd like to thank you for all that you do for Anson County Sheriff's Office, and the emergency management part of Anson County. Last month I was in front of you, asking for money for some consoles, and you approved it. Commissioner Mims had asked a question about the service agreement, I believe, and that's already covered. But what we did find out is the installation fee is a total of $139,696. $100,000 of that is paid by the 911 board. We're asking for $39,114, $850. I'm sorry, that's 85 cents. Too many numbers on the end. We're asking that you approve that. We didn't try to misinform you last in January when I came in front of you. These are things that we've learned since then, and with the help of Chief Diggs here, I'm also learning a lot about 911. He's helping me out a lot, and we're going to the 911 board together. Previously, before Chris, before him, we had a IT guy that supposedly was doing all this, but we found out that a lot wasn't being done. So with the help of Chief Diggs, we're beginning to do a lot, and our interim county manager is helping us out with a lot of stuff. So I just asked that a motion to approve the $39,114.85.
Second.
I second it. And that'll take care of everything.
That should take care of everything right now.
Right.
Installs and everything.
I second it.
Okay, we've got a motion from, okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Sturtevant, to approve the $39,114.85 to cover our portion of the installation cost for the 3 new consoles. Any further discussion? And I guess all this was actually in the proposal, we just overlooked it.
It was in a way, yes, we did. And I overlooked it because we thought something different.
Okay, and one other thing I'm looking at says the P25 login record is not provided as part of this proposal. That's not something that's gonna come up later, is it?
We done took care of that part.
That's already done. Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, all in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous. The $39,114.85 for the installation, cover installation cost of the 3 new consoles is approved.
Thank y'all, and we really appreciate what you do for us.
Thank you all.
You guys do an excellent job. Rodney don't speak the way he ought to.
Okay, item 4E, Mrs. Edwards, the ABC referendum.
Good evening. My name is Katie Edwards, and I am the current chair of the Young Professionals Anson organization, which is an affiliate to the Anson County Chamber of Commerce. And we are requesting that the ABC referendum be added to the general election ballot that will be held in November 2022. The ABC referendum was voted on in 2018. At that time it did not pass, but it can be re-voted on every 4 years, which means we're eligible to have it on the ballot again this fall. So we are requesting that you approve that. There would be no expense to the county, no added expense to put that on the ballot for this year. We have reviewed the North Carolina General Statute 18B-602 that outlines the potential wording for the ABC referendum ballots. And we are proposing that, which I provided to you all in for your documentation for this week. For the malt beverage elections, we are proposing that the wording we select is to permit the on-premises and off-premises sale of malt beverages, for or against. For the unfortified wine election, to permit the on-premises and off-premises sale of unfortified wine, vote for or against. And for the mixed beverage election, to permit the sale of mixed beverages in hotels, restaurants, private clubs, community theaters, and convention centers, vote for or against.
That all over the county?
Yes, sir. It would be a county-wide vote. And we feel that there's potential, if this were to pass, for some real growth and development in Anson County, that it would help bring some new businesses, provide some new job opportunities, and at the end of the day, to increase the tax revenue for the county, which would be helpful for our schools and our public services and citizens as a whole. So we appreciate your consideration on this, and thank you for letting me present this evening.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Edwards. Just to go along with what she's saying, I think this is something that is important to the county, and the other thing that I think we all need to do is make sure that the citizens of Anson County are educated. Because
yes.
now, this right here looks a lot better than what was on there the last time. So
yes.
I think it'll be a lot easier to understand. But I think, we as commissioners need to be able to speak intelligently to it if we get approached about it. But also, you and your group, as well as anybody else, you can get on board in the county would be beneficial to make sure people understand what's happening and the importance of it for Anson County.
Yes, absolutely.
So at this time,
I would make the motion that we move forward. We're just allowing the voters to pick what they want to do in Anson County. So as
Correct.
a board, we're not saying that we're approving it. We're approving it to be placed on the ballot.
Correct.
And that's,
Correct.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I make the motion that we do approve that, and I like the 3 languages that you provided here.
I'll second it.
Yeah, we have a motion by Commissioner Brickens, seconded by Commissioner Sturdivant to place the ABC referendum on the ballot for the November general election. Any further discussion?
My church is very much against some of the language, and should I recuse myself or not?
No, there's no reason to recuse yourself because you have no vested interest, so you'll have to vote your convictions. Anyone else? All in favor? Signify by raising your right hand. Okay. All opposed, like sign?
It don't mean that we drink this.
Absolutely, yeah, this is not saying that you are for or against.
If you don't,
Right.
they're going across the state line.
I can get it anyway, that's good. Okay, it
Down at the creek.
It is unanimous. The ABC referendum is approved to put on the November ballot. Okay?
Thank you.
Ms. Evans.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes care of our appearances. We're now down to administrative matters. Administrative matters, 5A, personnel policy revision.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Board.
Good evening.
I'm here to ask for a policy revision on Article 3, Section 8 of the Personnel Ordinance. This is a follow-up from my December request. We reached out to surrounding counties, only 4 responded, and then we also polled the department heads. With the responses from the other counties, it was mixed just like the responses from our department heads. Some said to pay the part-time employees for holiday pay, some said not to, and in the counties that did pay them, they were already benefiting their part-time employees anyway. So what I would like to propose is keep the ordinance as it is and just take out the stipulation about the 20 hours, so that way they would get paid for holiday pay if they work.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the revision to the personnel ordinance.
I second it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gable, seconded by Commissioner Sturtevant to approve the revision to the personnel ordinance. Any discussion or questions? Okay, so this basically states that if they work.
Yes, sir, only if they work.
So
So if they don't work, then they won't get paid for the holiday.
Okay.
So like, using like elderly services as an example, those part-time employees, because normally they wouldn't work on a holiday, wouldn't get compensated for the holiday. But someone that works in like our emergency services or like our animal shelter, if they're working that day, then they'll get the hours that they work in addition to a holiday hour pay. Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea how many days or hours or amount that would be? I mean, if it's just a half a dozen, or is it gonna be a fairly regular occurrence? I guess that's a kind of a big thing to vote for without knowing exactly how much.
Well, we already get 12 paid holidays a year, and the way they use the staff right now for part-time is to kind of cover from a full-time to kind of give them a break, so we're not having to pay overtime for our full-time employees. So from my understanding, it would just come from the part-time budget that's already budgeted in that line item. They're just scheduling for that day that they're already scheduled to be off, and they'll just, you know, pick up that shift for the holiday, and then they'll get the extra holiday pay on top of it, which may be like
unusual
4.
to do this. Is that correct, Mr. Allen? It's a little unusual, isn't it?
I wouldn't characterize it as unusual. As Katie said, some employers do it, some don't. So it's a mixed bag, Dr. Sims. The reason we're bringing it to you is that this past holiday, we had some difficulty staffing certain departments on those holidays, and so we weren't able, if we can't get employees in, we can't provide the services, and so I think it's a relatively low cost, as Katie said.
You just turned my boat. Very good, thank you.
Okay, so this means that I'm a part-time person and I get called to come in on a holiday. If I come in on a holiday, then I get paid.
And it's only fair.
Yeah, I agree.
The full-time person gonna get paid.
And as Katie said, the part-time people only get it if they work on holiday.
I understand, madam, I'm good.
But would it be more for emergency part-time people? Cause if it's just a regular routine government job that's not so time important, you wouldn't start having part-time people working holiday pay for just like an administrative thing or something. It's more emergency, right?
It's more emergency services. They have to work like EMS, the sheriff's department, but then also our transportation department. That's kind of where we saw a slight issue with.
Okay.
Normally she has a full-time person who volunteers to work on the holidays, but back during the Thanksgiving, Christmas break, that employee wasn't able to work, and it was kind of difficult to get the part-time employees to volunteer to work because they weren't getting paid extra for it, other than just the hours that they worked.
Okay, that's good clarification.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the like sign. Okay, it is unanimous. The revision to the personnel ordinance is approved.
Thank you.
Nah.
I know it ain't for you, Jonathan.
Jonathan here been cold his life.
Okay.
He kicked the diapers off when he was born.
Okay, 5B, conflict of interest policy.
Mr. Chairman, I've got that.
You got, okay.
The county received some grant funding in the new state budget that was adopted recently, and we received communication from the Office of State Budget and Management as to requirements that we have to go to receive those grant funds. Most of the requirements, we had the information available. One thing that they are requiring, and they said that this is sort of a new requirement, they've always required this for nonprofit agencies. They haven't done this for local governments in the past, but they are requiring this now, is that any local government has to have a conflict of interest policy, and they provided us with a template. And so Ms. Cannon took that template and put the Anson County language in here, and so in order to proceed with those grants, we would need the board to adopt that conflict of interest policy.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Mims, seconded by Commissioner Sturtevant to approve the conflict of interest policy. Is there any discussion or questions? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the like sign. To hear none, it is approved. It's unanimous. The conflict of interest policy is approved. Okay, the Landfill Advisory Committee, and I know at this point, I don't think all commissioners, I have not made an appointment as of yet. So this will be carried over to the, Ms. Gatewood.
Mr. Chairman, I've made an appointment, but I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
When does this committee meet? Do we have a schedule?
They have, the old one had a schedule. When we get everybody on this new one, they'll determine the schedule. I'm thinking at least quarterly, but they'll have to determine the schedule and we'll have to approve it.
Can I speak just a second? Mrs. Cannon, Paul Kiker, K-I-K-E-R, he lives on Cameron Road, is my nominee.
Anyone else have?
And Ms. Cannon, I sent you mine, right?
I have yours, yes, sir. I did.
I'll get mine in. I got to track somebody down. Okay. We're down to item 6, the manager's report. And back on the advisory committee, we'll approve the committee once all the names in place, rather than doing some now and some later. Once we got all the names, we'll approve.
And will this commission establish the meeting schedule?
It should. They should establish the schedule.
I think there's something in the contract that requires, isn't it a quarterly agreement in the contract that we would have an advisory committee?
It was, without the advisory committee, yes, but the meeting schedule, about years ago, they met monthly.
Okay.
Just here recently, I think, I don't know when, but it changed to quarterly, and they decided to do that.
Okay.
And it worked, so.
Okay.
Whoever the new commission is will decide their meeting schedule.
Okay, good.
Because it was based on when they worked.
Right.
When all of them could get together.
Okay, good, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Allen?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
thank you. I'll try to go through these items fairly briefly. We're trying to keep the board updated about the American Recovery Plan, fiscal recovery funds, and so in my bi-weekly report, I try to mention that, but just tonight, there was a major development in this a couple weeks ago when the U.S. Treasury Department issued the final rule for these funds, and it actually is very beneficial in that before, for you to spend it on general government type of activities, you had to demonstrate and prove a revenue loss to the jurisdiction. A lot of jurisdictions were having difficulty showing that revenue loss, and so Treasury rethought that. And so up to a maximum of $10 million, you do not have to show or demonstrate or prove any revenue loss. And in Anson County's case, we have an allocation of $4.7 million. So all of that $4.7 million, if you were to choose to do so, could be spent on general government things like EMS and law enforcement and those types of things. So that is really good news. That will make it simpler. The School of Government at Chapel Hill has done a really great job of providing guidance to local governments and regular updates. One thing that we will have to do is we will have to adopt certain policies to comply with federal uniform guidance for grantees. And so the School of Government is working on those policies right now. They're not ready. They will be coming to you for your consideration probably in March and April as they are rolled out by the School of Government. They're mostly from a reporting standpoint and a compliance standpoint, but anyone receiving these funds will have to do that. One thing that is recommended is that because we're going to have to report in some detail on how we spent these funds, the School of Government is recommending, as well as the association and the league, that you try to spend on a relatively small number of items. Rather than picking 30 small items to spend it on, pick 5 or 10 bigger items, and that way the reporting requirements will be less onerous. And so we are recommending that. The other thing, which is sort of unprecedented with federal funding, is that we can basically use these funds to supplant other things. So for example, an example that's been given, for the next couple of years, if the board wanted to take the ARP funds and pay the county payroll and benefits, you could do that. And then the funds that you did not spend on payroll, then you can use those for other projects and things that the county wants to do. So it really provides a lot of flexibility to the county. And what I suggest is, now that we've got the final rule, we're just getting ready to start the county budget process. So it makes a lot of sense to do the ARP fund in tandem with the budget and look at the budget and these ARP funds together and make decisions as we go through, so that by the time you adopt the budget in May or June, you'll have a decision on how you want to spend these funds as well.
When I read the various regulations on this money, it said you could not in any way build up for fund balance.
That is absolutely, you're absolutely right, Dr. Sims. A couple things you cannot do. You cannot build it, can't hide it away, tuck it away for fund balance. You can't use it to pay debt service, so you can't borrow money and then use it for debt service.
As long as we're okay, I'm good.
But you're right about those. The funds do have to be expended by December 31st of 2026. They have to be obligated by December 31st of 2024, so you've got some time. But if we're going to be looking at larger projects that take some time, then, you know, this spring is the time to start planning for that.
Can you spend, and I know Mr. Gate would be interested in this question, can you spend this money for a capital improvement?
Yes, sir.
I read it that you could.
You can spend it for capital improvement. Now, one caveat is if you use it to purchase land, if the county ever decides to dispose of the land, you have to refund the federal government back the cost of that land. So there is so there's a cautionary thing about using it to purchase land. You would have that in the event that would ever happen.
So after you get past the land, you put whatever kind of building you want there with that money.
I think so.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one point for clarification. We have $4.7 million allocated to Anson County, but we've already committed, I think we said $1 million to run the sewer line from Wade Mill to the mini mart.
I think it's $400,000.
So $400,000. So we really don't have 4.7 million. We have something less than that. But my question is, if we, as a Board of Commissioners, decided to grant $2.5 million to the middle school, is that acceptable?
If the school is built by December 31st of 2026, you could use it for that. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
And as long as we obligated it by 24, right?
Obligated by 24, spent by 26. Yes,
Now,
you
if
can
we
use it for your project too.
That's what I'm coming to. If we elect to devote $3 million to a new DSS building, so long as we have it completed by this target date, that would be acceptable as well.
That's the way I read it.
All right, very good, thank you.
That's why I said you'd be interested.
Yes, sir.
And I know it can be used for capital improvement and construction. One question would be, in preparing the old middle school site for type of development, could it be used to tear down the old middle school to prep the site for a new building?
We would have to ask that. That's a good question, but I don't know the answer to that.
I believe it
Probably,
could, but I'm not a lawyer.
It's an excellent question, Mr. Bricken, because assuming we could devote some of these funds to demolishing those old buildings, and they need to be demolished, then that would be an excellent site for our new DSS and health department complex in the future.
But what about allocating the funds for the improvements they need for the jail?
Yes, sir, that would be an eligible expense. Yes, sir.
So that's coming. I mean, we need to think about it.
Those pictures were ugly, Mr. Sims.
Well, I can show you some DSS pictures that are equal to that, if not worse.
Okay, let's keep our thoughts together, and, you know, we need to have a, budget retreat. So it will be budget / ARP funds like, Mr. Allen just, mentioned. You know, we probably need to do both of them at the same time, but keep all these thoughts together, and then we'll try to get something in place as a plan. Okay, Mr. Allen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is the former PDENC building. We are looking at the space allocation, and we actually are getting quotes. We don't have those quotes yet. I hope we have them tonight, but we will have them for your March meeting and the requested budget amendments to do a few things that are not terribly expensive, but some painting, some cleaning of the buildings, some work on the parking lot, just to buff it up. And so we're going to be moving into it, make sure it's, you know, almost like a new building, really. So we'll come back to you on that. We have, water sewer has looked at the facility, and they have pretty much designated the area they think is appropriate for them. And so those of you who see the building, when you walk in the front door of the building, they're looking at everything that will be on the left-hand side of the lobby all the way down the hallway. So basically the western side of the outside quarter, and then, there's a storage room on the back quarter that they would be looking at, and then of course the smaller building in the back. So that's what water sewer is looking at, which means that the front offices where the chief executive's offices were and so forth, and then the offices along the east side of the building will be available. And then of course there's a conference room in the back of the building that actually I think could be used by all county departments for training, for meetings, that sort of thing. It's a really good meeting space.
Right.
So that's sort of tentatively what we're looking at so far.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
on these cosmetic improvements, I would like to request the board give the county manager the authority to proceed with them. And he doesn't have to come back to us at the next meeting. Those are things that need to be done while the building is vacant. And I would suggest we give him the okay to proceed, and I make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, seconded by Commissioner Sturman to authorize the county manager to proceed with cosmetic improvements.
Yes. Of the building and the
general
parking lot.
maintenance improvements to the building before we move in.
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, so I appreciate the authority. Now, we will have to come back to you with a budget amendment,
Right.
you know, when we have the specific amounts. And we'll-
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I think one of the things, I know I saw it in your managing bi-weekly report of communication, as far as signage and the name, I'm kind of thinking that a real nice sign and maybe Anson County Government Annex, and then the different departments under that.
I like that.
And it
I
should
like
be,
that.
should be lighted.
Yeah.
So that it's always visible.
And it needs to be a big sign.
That's what I'm talking about, a big
Yes,
sign.
sir.
And I'm talking about an actual lighted sign, not a wooden sign with light shining on it.
And you're saying lighted from the interior,
Yes, sir.
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman?
Yeah.
So actually, Mr.
Excuse me.
So Mr. Small Wendell has been getting some quotes on signage from the local sign company here in Anson County, and we actually are looking at 2 or 3 different examples. So what we'd like to do is we bring those back to you.
Okay.
Show you what those look like, and show you what the price range would be for
Okay.
those.
Okay, good.
And you can make a decision as to what you'd like to see.
Okay. All right.
I was watching the national news a couple of days ago, and I'll be very brief. And they were showing tunnels that the people in Ukraine were using to deposit themselves for safety. And I said, good grief, that looks exactly like a picture of the tunnel from the jail to the courthouse.
One thing on the signs, some of the church signs now, you can actually change the wording from a computer, which if there's an option to look at there, so if you have updates or something, scheduled events, there's new signage now that you can actually go in with a computer program and change the wording.
Okay. All right, okay, Mr. Allen.
The next item is just briefly, I wanted to report that, at the last meeting, the board authorized the county to issue RFQs for water and sewer assessments, and funding, applications. Those have been issued. They're supposed to be back, I think they're due in on Valentine's Day, and we will have those reviewed, and those will be on your March, agenda as to the results of the scoring for all of those people who respond.
Okay.
The next item is already been alluded to. Dr. Sims had alluded to that, but you recall that a few months ago, Commissioner Mims came to me with some concerns about some cracking and concrete spalling and rust and so forth on the exterior of the sheriff's office and the jail. So we engaged a structural architectural firm to do a walkthrough and look at that. The report is here in your agenda package, and what the engineer has told me is that we're not in any imminent danger of collapse or anything like that, but there are issues that need to be addressed. If they're not addressed, they will only get worse in the future. What he is recommending as the next step is to engage a geotechnical engineering firm, because a lot of the problems we're having with the settlement is coming from either the soil not being compacted properly or water washing the soil away or something like that. And so we won't really know for sure until we have that study done. That is something that if the board wanted to move ahead with now, we could do a budget amendment and do it, or if you wanted to wait, you could include that in your, budget deliberations when you do the budget. He's estimating probably between $5,000 and $7,000 for that geotechnical study.
If a piece of cement fell on a prisoner's head while he was going from the jail to the courthouse, his lawyer would be suing before he got to the courthouse.
Well, moisture issues too, you gotta think about mold. These are things that I would think that we should at least look at going forward with that proposal to 5,000 to 7,000.
Okay, can we get that in the form of a motion?
I'll make a motion that we move forward with that.
Second.
We have a motion from, Commissioner Brickens, seconded by, Commissioner Gatewood to proceed with the, what kind of study was that?
Geotechnical.
Geotechnical study for the jail. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous to proceed with the geotechnical study on the jail. Okay.
The last item, Mr. Chairman, I think I'll defer to Ms. Jackson, because she initiated this item about the DSS, child supervision, if I could defer to her.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Chair, Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Allen, for allowing me the opportunity. I just want to come before you, when I was here in December, we talked about compensating DSS staff for the time that they spent caring for, supervising a foster child that we had in custody. The situation occurred in November. And then in December, we were once again faced with another child. Unfortunately, that situation lasted only 2 days. It was between Christmas and New Year's, but staff were once again faced with scheduling and setting aside time to be available to foster children. We met with the DSS board in January and discussed with the DSS board the need for compensation for staff when they have to do that type of care for youth, and also did a survey of the 100 counties to find out what some of the other counties do. Received 22 responses, and the majority of the it was kind of, as was mentioned earlier, a mixed bag. Some did compensation, some did overtime pay, and some allowed for either or. They allowed the staff to make a decision as to whether they would receive comp time or whether they would receive overtime pay. What I would, at the conclusion of our DSS board meeting, the board recommended, and I would like to present an opportunity for staff to be given the opportunity to decide whether they would be eligible for overtime pay or comp time. And also that not only include caring for foster children, but that it also include when we are called out for emergency shelter duty. As you're aware, for the past 3 weekends we've had snow. For the first 2 weekends there was the thought that we may have to do shelter duty. This past weekend was not such a threat, so we were thankful for that. But what I would like to ask on behalf of the Department of Social Services staff is that staff be allowed the opportunity to request compensation or overtime pay when they are called in to do foster care supervision duties and or shelter duties.
We had a broad and detailed description of that in our packets.
Mm-hmm.
Is comp time time and a half comp time or just straight time comp time?
It depends on the number of hours where they are on the paper. It is straight time if it's under the 40 hours, and then it's time and a half if it's over the 40 hours.
Okay.
Okay, we've heard the request from Ms. Jackson.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Mims, seconded by Commissioner Sturman, Commissioner Gatewood,
And Commissioner Smith
Commissioner Smith, to approve the, employees, ability to either use comp time or get overtime pay for foster care coverage or shelter coverage.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous. It is approved.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jackson.
I think Ms. Ingram will bring that back to you, in the language of the personnel policy, but this gives her the authorization, and we'll put that on the consent agenda for the next, meeting.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, okay.
I just need to add one thing. For the approval, can we also include our health department when it comes to, working the shelter duty as well?
Sure.
Sure.
So, would you amend your motion?
Yes.
And the second still stand?
Yes.
Okay, it's done.
Thank you.
I have one question for Mr. Allen.
Okay.
As far as the electric station for the supply for electric cars, are we still gonna do that? Did you look into that?
Yes, sir, we're waiting for the grant cycle to come available, and I think it's gonna be very soon. The grant programs are from, if you remember, a few years ago, there was a lawsuit, a federal lawsuit against Volkswagen because of cheating on their emissions standards. And so what the state has done is taken that money and put it into, things that are designed to help, the air quality. So it's, investing, they've got grant programs for low emission vehicles and, for low emission buses. They're really targeting school buses. They're gonna have grant programs for that. One of the smaller areas is there's gonna be a competitive grant process for those charging stations. And, I think that's gonna be open soon, and so it's our intention to apply for that grant. And if we don't get the grant, you've got the ability to pay, to do it yourself. But we thought, let's try the grant and see if we can get it paid for that way.
Okay, Mr. Allen, you have anything else?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next item is the chairman's report. I don't know who all received it. Mr. Diggs sent out an email this evening, and he says he's got very low participation on the PD Lumber Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. It's time for it to be updated, and it covers Anson, Richmond, Montgomery, and Scotland County. So he's asking for help to get the word out so that he can get we can get more people to take that, and I would encourage the board to participate as well. I attended the Rocky River RPO meeting on January 11th, 2022. Topics of conversation was the Connect Beyond and the Mobility Plan, Regional Mobility Plan, and the STIP projects, and that will have to be updated as far as Anson County. And that's Strategic Transportation Improvement Plan. And I also attended the Central Carolina Regional Council Executive Board meeting on January 12th, and the Regional Resilience Collaboration Project is something that's getting ready to be kicked out there that we'll have to participate in as well. Okay. That brings us down to Commissioner concerns, petitions, announcement, and comments. Item 8A, the retention bonus. Commissioner Gatewood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was reviewing a copy of the front page of the Anson Record Wednesday, January 12th. Headline is School Board Approves Staff Bonuses. COVID-19 numbers rising. And as I read through this particular article, I said, well, what about Anson County government employees? In recent months, since the COVID has started, actually 2 years, we've had difficulty retaining staff and also difficulty hiring and recruiting staff. So I'd like to suggest to the board that we have staff, county manager and HR director, look at this and come back to us with their recommendation. In addition, it's been 10 years since we've changed our 401k contribution. We moved from 2 to 3%, and that was 10 years ago. And on the longevity pay plan, it's been over 10 years since we have adjusted that program, and I would like for staff and HR director to come back to us with a recommendation on those two as well, if it's the pleasure of the board.
Okay. You want to put that in the form of a motion?
Absolutely. I'd like to make a motion that, number one, we consider a staff retention program for Anson County government employees, full-time and part-time, that we relook the 401k contribution and consider moving it to the same level as sworn law enforcement officers receive, which is 5%. Ms. Jackson and her staff and all other county staff, other than the sheriff department, receives 3%. And it was 10 years ago we moved from 2 to 3. And at that time we said we would consider moving it again in 10 years, and that time has arrived. So that's my motion.
Okay. Do we have,
Second.
we have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, seconded by Commissioner Sims, to review the 401k plan,
Contribution.
401k contribution,
The longevity pay plan.
longevity pay plan,
And consider a staff retention bonus.
staff retention bonus.
This is a review for action, not an actual action.
Yes. We'd like for them to come back to us with a proposal, their recommendation.
Are we in the 401k?
The commissioners?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
Are the county employees limited to how much they can contribute of their own?
Make a motion that they put us in there and have to go all the way back to when we started.
I got 24 years over here.
We don't need to do that. Okay, we got the motion and the second. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, could I answer Mr. Griffin?
Go right ahead, yes, sir.
The employee contribution is not limited. The only time when that comes into play is if you got a very highly compensated employee, and then if they contribute such a percentage over the other employees, then they have to actually get that money back and pay taxes on it. But I don't think we have anybody working for Anson County that's in that category.
Okay.
as far as I know.
Okay, good.
Okay, item 8B, the time and grade salary plan, Commissioner Brickens.
Yeah, when we spoke of that, I guess it was it around May last year, and we didn't think we could get that done in time for this fiscal year that we're in now, so we were gonna allow all these months to get ready for the upcoming budget meeting to study, learn about it, see how much that's gonna cost. And so I just wanted to keep the momentum going on that if we're waiting to hear the results of the study on how much that would cost and time and grade, number of employees. And one thing that I wanna make sure we keep in mind, is that when you get a time and grade increase based on how long you've been working, if we do approve that, I'd like to make sure that we keep in mind that that's based upon a successful annual supervisory appraisal. So it's not automatic that if somebody gets it, it's just there as long as they're doing a satisfactory job, and so keep that, you know, in mind so that it doesn't just automatic. Just thought it was a good time to remind, maybe we would include that.
Okay.
And while we're talking about the budget, I'd like, if possible, if there's more than I don't know, we can think of a number, more than say a 10% change in the budget from last year to this year, either up or down, I'd like there to be an asterisk with an explanation at the bottom, because when we look over the budget and we see some of these changes, 25, 30, 40, 50%, and then we're approving it, but we don't know why it went up this much or down this much. And I don't have a number exactly in mind, but maybe we could think of one together, 15% change, especially when it goes up. I mean, I'd like to know why it goes down too, but maybe if it goes up more than say 15%, put a notation on the bottom so we know why.
Mr. Bricken, I think that's an excellent idea. It certainly would help me in reviewing the budget, because there's a lot of numbers in there, a lot of line items, and that sort of information would be helpful.
Mr. Bricker, there's a magna cum laude graduate.
My thinking is, you know, as the department heads are doing the budgets, you know, I'm thinking it's easy to put a notation for any kind of increase, whether it's an increase or a decrease.
Yeah.
If it goes up or if it goes down, just a notation of why that happened. I don't think it's very hard to do whenever you're doing the budget. I mean, in my career, we did those types of things. It was fairly easy.
And maybe we could make the percentage that, so if it's just a tiny little thing, they don't have to worry about it, but do you think maybe 10%, or what would y'all think? 15%?
Well, my thinking was, like I said, any change.
Okay, that'd be great.
Just a simple notation.
Okay.
Why the department budget change.
Okay, I like this. Well, that's even better. Okay.
Okay, all right, the
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
did
sir.
we act on Mr. Bricken's recommendation relative to salary compression? It's a big issue here in Anson County, has been for a long time. And there are some counties that are using COVID funds to fund studies, in-depth studies, so that we do this right.
No, there wasn't any motion or anything made. We did that way back when. We can do it again. There's no problem.
I think we need a motion to that effect.
Okay.
Mr. Bricken.
Well, would the motion be that we get an update on the status of the review? Because right now, I'm not even sure what stage the review is in, that we asked for.
I'm thinking the motion would be to proceed and provide the information to the board, be my thinking.
And I would make that motion. That's the wording that you said.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Bricken, seconded by Commissioner Gatewood to proceed with the time and grade salary plan and report back to the board with progress.
Okay, great.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous. Okay, item 8C, the QRV vehicle for Morven, an update on the status of that. Commissioner Mims, do we have an update?
I don't, I'll talk to Rodney tomorrow. The last I heard, they were trying to locate a vehicle, either current model year, or if not, they'd have to order the next one, but he was trying his best to get one, but I'll definitely ask him and let the board know.
Okay.
Okay, that takes care of our regular session items. We have a closed session. The first one is to consult with the attorney under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 parentheses A parentheses 3, and personnel under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 parentheses A parentheses 6. Need a motion to go into closed. We thank everybody for coming out.
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Sturtevant, seconded by Commissioner Sims, Commissioner Gatewood to go into closed session. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous. Okay, we're now in closed session.
I would do them individually,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, the first item is to hire Ms. Holly Berry as the Finance Director.
Mr. Chairman, I will enthusiastically make that motion.
All right, motion from Mr. Gatewood, is there a second?
Well, if Mr. Gatewood enthusiastically says motion, I second it.
Enthusiastically.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, seconded by Commissioner Bricken to hire Holly Berry as the Finance Director. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous. Ms. Berry is the new Finance Director. Okay, next item is the Senior Finance Technician position. We'll need a motion to add that. Change to reclassify it, I'm sorry. We already had it. So we need a motion to reclassify the Senior Finance Technician position.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion as well.
And we have a motion from Commissioner Gatewood, is there a second? Somebody? Getting our finance department is critical.
Second.
It's seconded by Commissioner Mims to reclassify the Senior Finance Technician position. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous. The Senior Finance Technician position will be upgraded. And the last item is to transfer a minimum of 18 acres to the school board for the construction of the new middle school.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Sturtevant, seconded by Commissioner Gatewood, that we transfer a minimum of 18 acres to.
Before y'all make that motion, I was under the impression you were gonna put some caveats to it. Some conditions on transferring that property, but if that's not, I didn't wanna have to undo a motion.
I understand, appreciate that. The motion needs to be restated, that we will ask for demolition of the old middle school.
I'll make a motion that we, approve giving them the 18 acres with the caveat that we will ask for demolition
Of the old middle school property.
of the old middle school property.
I second that motion.
And to transfer back to the county.
Does that include the gym, demolition of the gym?
Yes, sir, the entire property.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Sturman, seconded by Commissioner Gatewood, that, which,
If that includes transferring the property back to the county.
it should, yes.
Does it?
Wanna put that in there? We'll get this right after a while.
Transferring it back to the county.
Put that in that next.
You can do a friendly amendment.
But I'm not clear, is it based on them agreeing to demolish the building, or to just
No,
talking
we're
about it?
giving them the land, no matter.
They're gonna get the land.
Yeah.
But we're gonna ask them to,
That's why I don't think it ought to be
take,
there right now.
to demolish the, old middle school.
I don't understand how that can be in the same motion if we're just asking them, but it.
I guess it's kinda like making it official, that's what we wanna do, we want them to do it, it goes to them, then we'll have to hash it out after the fact, but right now, we don't wanna hold them getting the land.
Right.
And, with Mr. Ford, would it make sense to separate the two motions? Separate and make it two motions?
We've actually approved the first one already.
That's what I was wondering about, you've already approved the first one already in open session to give that to them. But you can always go back and ask them, say, hey, look, we gave you this land, we would like for y'all to contribute to this too. But I don't know that would happen unless you wanted to undo that original motion. I'm being open with you, cause is that what the motion was in open session, ma'am?
Okay, maybe I messed up then, I thought there was three actions we had to take when we came.
Third one was the employment agreement.
Employment agreement for the county manager. Interim, the new county manager. Okay, my mistake, y'all keep it straight. So that third action we need to take, ain't got anything to do with the middle school, and none of that, that's already been done. The third action is to, approve the contract for the new interim, county manager.
I make a motion that we approve the contract for the new interim county manager.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Sturman, seconded by Commissioner Mims to approve the contract for the new interim, county manager. Any further discussion? All in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous. Okay. All right, and I guess in the future, if I'm so far out of left field and I'm screwing up, somebody let me know.
I don't think we're that far out in left field, Mr. Chairman. In fact, what I heard is that,
Good job, what I think.
Mr. Chairman, I heard that we had approved the process in open session.
Well, you're right about that too.
Pending consultation with the county attorney.
You're right.
Well, I'll read the motion, and maybe I misunderstood what it was.
Okay.
I'll read what it was, and it can be whatever it is. We'll make it right.
Okay. Well, with that said, then we will need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Sims, by Mr. Sturman to adjourn. All in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye.